thank you. Just as I was about to hear the last of my father's words of thankfulness, I was suddenly bathed in a blinding white light, and a powerful jolt shook my entire body. I didn't even have a time to comprehend what had happened. The second time I came to, I was about to scream as a sharp agony went through my entire body. But I couldn't yell, and I passed out again immediately. The next time I woke up, all I could see was a white ceiling. Based on my final memory of the incident, I deduced that I had been in an accident and was in the hospital. According to the doctor, I did regain consciousness for 2 weeks after the accident. There was some hope that I'd be able to walk again with rehabilitation. However, I had lost my left arm. I was going crazy just thinking about it. Accueptions. Even though the gravity of the situation was beginning to sink in, the doctor told me of another tragedy. My name is Jason Scott. I am 23 years old. I'd say I'd had a rather fortunate life up until that point.
That's loyal. Thank you.
In fact, I had obtained an early job offer from my first choice apparel company, and my life would be just as bright after I graduated from college. That's probably how I felt about my future without giving it much thought. I had earned the majority of my credits by the fall of my senior year and was planning on spending the remainder of my final year of college without regrets. And as part of that, I came up with the idea of going on a trip with my parents. I had saved enough money by working part-time at an apparel store for 4 years while I was in college. I also obtained my driver's license, and I figured my parents would appreciate it if I took them to the beach. I was too shy to tell them, but I was grateful to them. So I wanted to express my true feelings during the trip. But I had no idea the vacation would turn out to be such a disaster. A 3-day, 2-night trip to a beach resort. Both my father and mother were very happy.
I shall come back here once I receive my first paycheck.
I'm happy that you care for us, but you should also use it for yourself. You've always been too nice to others.
It's simply that I've always thought I'd be better off buying someone a gift and making them happy than buying something for myself. And
Jason, thank you.
just as I was about to hear the last of my father's words of thankfulness, I was suddenly bathed in a blinding white light, and a powerful jolt shook my entire body. I didn't even have time to comprehend what had happened. The second time I came to, I was about to scream as a sharp agony went through my entire body. But I couldn't scream out, and I probably lost consciousness right away again. When I awoke the following time, the pain was less severe, but all I could see was a white ceiling. Based on my final recollection of the incident, I deduced that I had been in an accident and was in the hospital. I listened to my girlfriend, Elizabeth, who had apparently come to visit me, noticed that I was awake. First, with tears streaming down her face, she said she was happy that I had gained consciousness and immediately went to call the nurses and doctors. According to the doctor, I didn't regain consciousness for 2 weeks after the accident, and I was hospitalized for a while with severe injuries all over my body. He also stated that there was hope that I would be able to walk with the help of therapy, but that I would be unable to participate in any intense sports. And the damage from my left elbow down was so severe that doctors had to amputate it. I couldn't accept what he said. I had no feeling in my left hand, but I thought it was just paralyzed. I couldn't move my head, so I couldn't check the status of my left arm. But I was going crazy just thinking about the fact that my left arm was gone. Etchins, as if that wasn't enough to make the reality of the situation impossible to grasp, the doctor told me of another tragedy.
And Shireen, I'm afraid your parents were killed in the same accident. By the time the ambulance arrived, both of them were already gone.
My head should have understood the doctor's remarks, but my emotions couldn't keep up. I didn't want to accept it. Did he say my parents are dead? They aren't here anymore? What's more, the funeral was over while I was unconscious. I mean, it had been 2 weeks, so I guess it was normal, but I wasn't even there for their final moments. I was so shocked that I lost consciousness again when I came to. The next time I woke up, I thought I was dreaming. But I realized that I wasn't, and I couldn't control my emotions. Despite my lack of strength, I continued to move my body and lash out as much as I could. You might say that lashing out does not change reality. Actually, I knew that. But even though I knew I was doing something pointless, I was driven to strike out and ruin everything. A couple of nurses gathered around me and restrained me, and I protested, cursing them as well. Elizabeth, who came to visit me, looked completely taken aback and left. I can't blame her for that. I'm sure she didn't want to witness her boyfriend act like that, but it didn't matter anymore. Luckily, for a while after that, I didn't feel like doing anything. Well, to be precise, my physical condition didn't allow me to do anything. I could feel myself returning to normal as the need to lash out faded. But still, none of this would have happened if I hadn't invited them to go on the trip that day. When I considered such an unavoidable thought, I felt crushed by regret. A drunk truck driver had collided with my car in the opposite lane and caused the accident. It was not my fault at all. I knew that, but I was the one who took them to that place. It was like I killed my parents.
That's not true. You shouldn't blame yourself anymore. You are a victim too.
That's what Elizabeth always said to me when I was muttering to myself about my regrets. I believe it was difficult for her to deal with me because I was exhausted from losing my healthy body and my parents. And yet she visited me day after day without fail. I knew I had to be grateful to her, but I couldn't feel that way. In truth, I was uncomfortable, and after a month in the hospital, I cruelly told her, "You don't have to come here anymore. We should break up. You must be sick of dealing with me." Elizabeth looked surprised. "Did you say I'm sick of you?"
That's not true. You're the one who's having a hard time right now. Don't worry about me.
I knew she said that to console me, but I couldn't accept it.
Seriously, it's okay. I'm tired of your fancy talk, and I know that I'm not gonna get better. I'm confident you'll be able to find a boyfriend soon without being burdened by someone like me. I hope you'll enjoy your life.
I wasn't sure if that was my actual feeling or not. Anyway, I didn't want to see Elizabeth's face, so I chose harsh words. Elizabeth, on the other hand, remained silent. She simply cried and left. I didn't feel guilty. 4 months passed. I did not recover sufficiently for me to resume normal life, and my employment offer was withdrawn. Well, I couldn't blame them. I couldn't move my legs and I didn't have a hand. It could have been a completely different story if they had employed me with that requirement from the start. However, hiring me would be inefficient if they were abruptly told such a thing. However, I was not in a position to look for a job right away. I wasn't prepared, both physically and mentally. Virtually exacanthemy sections. I was in the hospital day in and day out, staring blankly out the window. I'd sluggishly go through the recovery process and dealt with the friends and relatives who came by to console me on occasion. During shitty days, perhaps I lost my healthy body. I lost my parents. I lost my job. I lost the girl I loved, even though I was the one who let her go. And lost my healthy body. I lost my parents. I lost my job. I lost the girl I loved, even though I was the one who let her go. My parents and I were both in an accident, but why did I survive? I wish I could have died with them if I had to live such a miserable life. I began to think like that. Even though I was still alive, there was no hope for my future. How was I gonna live like this from now on? Despite my mind, my body was gradually recovering. I didn't really want to do rehabilitation, but as I did what I was told, I was able to walk almost normally. Of course, some discomfort remained. It was difficult to think that only a few years ago, I was outrunning everyone and playing soccer with my legs. 6 months after the accident, I was finally able to walk on my own and I was discharged from the hospital. I hadn't been back to the house where I lived with my parents since that day, the day we left for my trip. I never thought that the next time I came back, it would be like this. If I had to go back in time, I'd do everything in my power to stop them from going. I wanted to do so badly, but of course, such a thing was impossible. I returned to an empty house filled with memories of my parents. Everything was the same as the day we departed on the trip, and no matter what I did, I cried. Even with my parents' insurance money, I had to work at some time. I had to somehow, someway look forward to life. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't think positively. So I left home without deciding where to go, wanting to get as far away from home as possible. Got on a bus and sat down in an empty seat. I didn't do anything, didn't think, and just looked out the window. Feeling a bit puzzled, I gave her a high five with my right hand, but it seemed that wasn't sufficient for her.
She murmured,
And she requested a high five with both hands, but unfortunately, I had no left arm to reciprocate. As I froze in place, the girl examined my arm and noticed something unusual. Actually, two stivect ruins. I had on a long-sleeved shirt to conceal it, but even a child could detect there was nothing in the arm sleeve upon closer inspection.
The pregnant mother, who couldn't keep up with the girl's pace, approached her.
Camila, don't run around. It's dangerous, she cautioned.
She addressed her as the girl inquired, "Hey, why don't you have a hand?" In her high and cheerful tone, the interior of the bus was hushed, and despite my self-consciousness, I started perspiring profusely, as if I were the center of attention.
So, alright, well,
I hadn't done anything wrong. I was injured in an accident and lost my arm. I should have just told the truth, but I couldn't seem to utter the words. I was still uncomfortable with the fact that I was disabled without an arm, but I snapped out of it when I saw the girl looking at me with curiosity. Yes, she wasn't trying to be offensive or rather sympathetic. She was merely asking a genuine question. And when I realized that the words flowed effortlessly,
I had an accident. I was injured and lost from the elbow down. I confess, I think.
that was the first time I'd ever revealed the truth to another person. Although it was a child, I was anxious about how she would react, but she responded with a bright smile, saying,
Wow, I understand. Here, give me a high five.
She casually high-fived my left hand, which was shortened to my elbow. I was taken aback by her reaction, but it was a pleasant surprise. I had always thought my left arm was gone, but the reminded me that I still had an arm, albeit a shorter one. She taught me that I could still perform a high five, even if I didn't have an arm below the elbow. She demonstrated that there were many things I could do. And her mother, who was standing further back, turned to me and said with a warm smile,
Thank you very much.
I thought she'd be surprised to see me without an arm. Instead, she appeared grateful for the interaction. It was a comforting moment for me, and I left the encounter feeling a little less self-conscious about my disability.
Thank you, mister.
Instead of feeling sorry for me, the daughter and mother treated me as if I were a regular, healthy person, even thanking me. That made me so happy that it brought tears to my eyes. After they left, I turned my head down, covered my face with my right hand. I cried quietly. Thanks to the interaction with them, I finally realized something. No, it made me realize I had lost my healthy body. I lost my parents. I lost my job offer. I lost my girlfriend. The list of sad things was endless. But suddenly I realized that the most serious issue in my life had been the assumption that I was a poor person. It was difficult to be with Elizabeth because I couldn't handle being labeled as a poor person. I refused to meet with my relatives and friends because I couldn't tolerate the way they looked at me and felt sorry for me. But was I correct? Maybe I was feeling sorry for myself more than for anyone else. But like that small girl, they may have been reaching out to me with unconditional love. Maybe I was the one pitying myself, and it had become a roadblock to enjoying a positive life. It's that I suffered an unacceptable tragedy, but there are many people around me who helped me. The only person who pushed them away was myself. Maybe there was something more to my life than pitying myself. It was up to me to choose if my life would wind up being truly sad. That's what my interaction with the mother and daughter taught me. For some reason, the words of my mother came to my mind. Live your life for yourself. I got off the bus, sat down on a bench, and made a phone call. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Jason, thank you for calling me. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I'm sorry.
At teen, I was ashamed of myself, and I couldn't say anything else. Little by little, since then, I tried to accept reality. I truly apologized to my relatives and friends, whom I had treated poorly despite their kindness to me.
You don't need to apologize.
They all said that to me. I had pushed them away in such a terrible way. They all understood my feelings and were willing to help me. Since then, I have gone to the site of the accident to lay flowers. Protections. I've organized the belongings of my parents and made arrangements for my parents' gravesite. Going to the accident site was really hard at first. My legs were shaking. I couldn't move forward and had to turn back many times. I cried over and over again. And Elizabeth was always there for me. She is really a wonderful woman who is too good for me. After that, I got a job without a hitch. I told them that I was a physically handicapped person, but I showed them what I was capable of and was able to get job offers from several companies. True, I might not be able to do as much as a healthy person because I don't have my left arm, but I still have my right arm. I worked part-time in a clothes store throughout college and aspired to work in the clothing industry as well. So I drew as many drawings as I could with my right arm. I believe such sketches helped me get good impressions in interviews. I don't want to waste my life, so I'll try my best. Actually, I was able to think like that because of something my mother said to me just before her death. She told me to live my life for myself. It is true that I lost a lot of things in a tragic accident, but now I can see that there are things I am glad for. My father thanked me at the last moment. I was able to show my appreciation to my parents. I can now feel the importance of Elizabeth, my relatives, and my friends. I realized how blessed I had been when I lost everything. There may come a day in my life when I feel like falling down, but I am sure that I will be fine now, whether my life will be unhappy or happy. It is now up to me to shape the course of my future, because I've gained the strength to think in that manner. Every morning from Monday to Friday, I ride the crowded subway. Commuting by subway is hard. It would be simple if the station closest to my house was the first station, or if my workplace was in the going direction, because I could sit on the subway. My commute part, on the other hand, was one of the busiest and most congested in New York. I had to beg the station workers to push me into the train so that everyone else in line could get on. The train would then begin to move, but the interior was completely filled. People were so close together in front, behind, and to the left and right that one could sleep standing up and not fall over. People were packed so tightly in front, behind, and to the left and right that one could sleep standing up without falling over. However, it was impossible to read a book or look at your phone. It was as if humans were mere cargo being transported. My body and mind were fatigued every day from the painful hours spent waiting for the train to arrive at the transfer station. My name is Theodore Supplier Miller. I am 39 years old and a low-wage employee for a small business. On that day, I was on a crowded train. An unusual incident occurred when I noticed a woman standing in front of me, holding in mouth with a very pale face. She seemed to be an office worker in her 40s, dressed in a suit. I was worried that she might get sick, so I looked at her cautiously. The woman had sweat on her forehead. Suddenly, she leaned back and leaned on my shoulder. I asked her, surprised at her condition, "Excuse me, are you all right?" She covered her mouth with a handkerchief and replied, "I'm sorry, I don't me feel well, she told me. I immediately shouted to the people nearby, "Excuse me, there is someone who is not feeling well. Could someone please give up their seat?" Then the people around me cleared the path a little, allowing us to come closer to the seat. One young woman stood up and offered her seat. I thanked her and supported the wobbly woman's shoulders, taking her to the offered seat. Let the woman sit down. I asked, "Would you like me to call an ambulance?" She replied, "It's okay. I'll be fine after taking some medicine and resting a little. Thank you very much." She took out a pill from her bag and put it in her mouth. I quickly pulled out a water bottle from my bag and offered her some. She looked a little puzzled but took it and drank. After that, she tried to get off at the next station. It would have been dangerous if she had staggered and fallen on the platform. I supported her and got off the train together with her. I sat her down on the bench.
So what are you gonna do now?
When I asked her, she answered in a weak voice,
"I'm going to take a cab home after a short rest. I appreciate everything you've done for me."
She looked much better and bowed to me.
Don't mention it, I was just doing what was necessary.
But you were on your way to work, right? Are you sure you're okay?
Die fate her people and Titishan, I huffed with Alier a hand fired. She was right. I had an important meeting first thing in the morning that day. I quickly checked my watch and realized it was too late to catch the following train. Sexy items. I had to hurry to the office. It was my fault for leaving home so late that even one late train would make me late. But it was also due to the fact that I got drunk late last night while entertaining a client and returned home in the morning. I usually arrived at work 30 minutes earlier than everyone else, and I'd clean my desk and prepare documents. However, my desire to sleep in a bit longer this morning won out. That since I was late because I was assisting others, I figured they'd forgive me if I explained why. I thought so. Well, I'm in a hurry, so excuse me.
Wait a minute. I am sorry, but I'd like to thank you properly another time. Could you please provide me with your contact information?
Oh no, that's not necessary. You don't need to thank me.
At Tiwer, I waved my hand to the side in front of my face. But just as she was about to say that, the next train entered the platform.
Oh, well, I'll take this one. Please take care of yourself.
At that, I was about to leave the woman. But she said, "Wait a minute." She stopped me.
I am sorry, but I'd like to thank you properly another time. Could you please provide me with your contact information?
Oh, no, that's not necessary. You don't need to thank me.
For that, I jumped into the open door. When I arrived at the office, the meeting had already started.
Good morning, I apologize for arriving late.
For your late, Theodore, which one are you doing? Andrew, the section chief, yelled at me. I told him I'm terribly sorry. There was a sick person on the train who collapsed, and I was running late because I was helping her.
I said I'm terribly sorry. There was a sick person on the train who collapsed, and I was running late because I was helping her.
But Andrew did not believe me.
Oh shit, you have no proof. Even if you claim to be such a good guy, I'd know if the train was late because you'd have proof of the delay. However, there is no way to know whether you were assisting someone or not. If you don't have proof, I don't trust you. Plus, of course, I don't have any proof. I thought so. Only a middle school dropout like you would tell such an obvious lie. You don't think much, do you?
But that Andrew started cursing me.
I wonder how you could come up with such a lie. You think you're a hero because you say you help people? Those heroes don't suit a guy like you. I wonder why you don't get that.
True, I only went to middle school before getting a job at a factory. Then, like 3 years ago, I joined this company. And, according to Andrew, who graduated from a prestigious university, I'm just a loser, but I didn't finish high school due to my home situation. I couldn't accept that I had helped someone, and then mocked for it. I don't mind my job because it's gratifying, but I hated Andrew, who always looked down on me like this, and I had to deal with more than simply arrogance and sarcasm. He also harassed and took credit for my work even when he knew I came to work early every morning.
I suppose you have to come in early because you're incapable. That's awful, isn't it? Appearing to town thing?
He mocked me like that. It seemed that he really liked to curse at people. He was the one who warned me not to be late for an important meeting that day. But it was insane of him to disrupt the beating and abuse me. All the other staff were silently watching the situation. Even still, being dismissed in front of such a big crowd was humiliating and exceedingly uncomfortable.
Even though I was dismissed in front of a large crowd, it was still humiliating and extremely uncomfortable. It made me feel as if the other employees were looking down on me because of Andrew. Maybe they were making fun of me behind my back. It was all Andrew's fault. I always thought work would be more pleasant if Andrew wasn't present. 10 days later, the company's anniversary party was held. This party seemed to be conducted every 5 years, and all employees, including the CEO, were required to attend. Married employees were expected to bring their partners, while those with small children were allowed to bring them as part of the welfare program. I heard that some colleagues only came to enjoy the wonderful food would be their families. But because I was unmarried, I had no choice but to go alone. The roast beef tasted so good, and there were so many kinds of drinks to choose from. I was satisfied because the food was wonderful and the free drinks were plentiful. The site was a hotel banquet hall, and there were high-end champagnes and wines. I was wondering what to eat next and thought about eating pilaf. As I was taking food from the platter, I heard a voice from behind.
There you are, Theodore. You came here alone.
I recognized the voice and turned to face Andrew, whom I had detested. He was there with his wife and daughter, who was in college. Andrew's wife and daughter were both stunning and a source of pride before him.
Thank you for always assisting my husband.
The wife bowed her head, and I bowed in return. No, it's my pleasure. I replied,
I'm sure someone, you can't even find a wife, right? On top of that, you're useless at work. And a poor, average employee. No way would any woman choose someone like you. Don't you agree?
Oh no.
Other than reprimanding Andrew, his wife and daughter laughed out loud when they heard his comments. Other than reprimanding Andrew, his wife and daughter laughed out loud at his comments. I wondered if they all had the same personality. I didn't envy Andrew at all because even though his wife was gorgeous, she made fun of and mocked others. If such a woman approached me and asked me to marry her, I would decline. At that moment, I heard a woman's voice behind me. She said, I'm his partner. Do you have any problem with that? I turned around and saw the woman I had saved on the train 10 days earlier. I was surprised. I didn't know what to call her, since I hadn't asked her name at that time, so I couldn't say anything. Then Andrew looked at her and said, "Excuse me, Scarlett."
What do you mean, Yuknar's partner?
Reese and Drew seemed to know her, but the woman called Scarlett did not answer him, but grabbed my hand and pulled me away.
I need to talk to you. Do you have a minute?
She exited the dining hall and sat on a sofa in the lobby. She said, "I'm sorry for suddenly barging in. You must have been surprised, but I couldn't help it. What he said was really bothering me, and Ada couldn't stand still."
Andrew called you Scarlett, right? What brought you here?
I am the ex-wife of the CEO of this company. We divorced 3 years ago, but now I'm involved with the company as an accountant.
Dale's ex-wife. I didn't know that. I had heard rumors that the CEO was divorced and single.
I'm sorry, I took the liberty of calling you my partner.
It's okay, you saved me back there. Thank you.
I felt better after seeing Andrew's astonished expression earlier.
Thank you very much for your help the other day.
We faced each other and bowed to each other. So, if you'd like to, we can attend the party as partners now.
Oh, is that okay with you? No.
Sure. If you don't mind, it's my way of thanking you for the other day. Oh, that's right. I didn't get your name yet. Sure, if you don't mind, it's my way of thanking you for the other day. Oh, that's right. I didn't get your name yet.
My name's Theodore Miller. Miller?
Theodore. Nice to meet you then.
She stepped up and crossed her arms over mine. Then we went back to the party place.
I can't believe that a guy like, Theodore's dating an elite woman like Scarlett.
I heard him talking loudly. Then a colleague from the same section asked me, "Where'd you meet Scarlett?" I was at a loss for an answer. Then Scarlett quickly opened her mouth.
It was when I got sick on the train. Theodore, who happened to be in the same car, helped me out.
What? Are you referring to the last time Theodore was late, so he wasn't making it up?
My colleague said this while glancing at Andrew, who was a short distance away from us. Andrew appeared to have heard our conversation and looked uncomfortable.
Of course, so I got Nana I wouldn't be late and make up a story to cover it up.
Wait, Theodore, were you late because of me? I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. Then I and Scarlett talked about many things. It turned out that we both read the industry's business newspapers, so we had a lot in common. After the party, we went to an after-party, just the two of us. There, we talked about each other's personal lives. I grew up in a single-mother household, and my mother became ill and unable to work when I was in junior high. So I graduated from junior high school, obtained a job, and spent a long time in poverty. When I told her this, Scarlett sympathized with me. Even though Scarlett had graduated from a top university, she never looked down on me. She praised me for my efforts and how hard I had worked. Appreciated how she didn't boast about her impressive education or high status, but instead treated me as an equal.
Oh, by the way, I was wondering if there was something wrong with your health.
I've always wondered why you collapsed on the train that day, and if you were all right.
No, I just happened to be sick at the time. It wasn't a chronic illness or anything.
She responded cheerfully. I was relieved to hear that. Scarlett also told me why she divorced the CEO. She told me that the reason was the CEO's infidelity. Scarlett had grown tired of his repeated infidelities and initiated the separation. Scarlett was granted custody of the junior high school daughter, while the CEO was granted custody of the high school son. Her daughter said she was going to stay at a friend's house today and didn't come to the party.
I can't believe he'd cheat on you when you're so beautiful. If I were him, I swear I would never do something like that. I did though to...
Exceptation, I let my drunkenness get the better of me and said something like that. But I meant it. She was smiling happily. After that day, Scarlett and I began to see each other frequently. The CEO later found out that Andrew had made fun of my being single during the party. I heard the CEO was furious with Andrew. The CEO was divorced and single. But in truth, he was a high school graduate who had launched his own business. The president heard about Andrew's terrible comments and was furious. I'm not sure if it was related to that, but Andrew was demoted to a regional branch office. The branch manager is notorious for his strictness, so I assume Andrew is suffering there now. As a result, my section became a very comfortable environment where no one looked down on me or harassed me. Since then, I have been wondering what the CEO would say if he found out I was with Scarlett at the party. I was nervous, but the other day when we passed each other...
Hey, take care, Scarlett, okay?
He tapped me on the shoulder. I was impressed by the big heart of the CEO. 6 months later, I plucked up the courage to tell Scarlett that I wanted to be in a formal relationship with her. She readily agreed. She also introduced me to her junior high school daughter, a really honest and cheerful, nice girl. And she agreed to support our relationship. I never thought I would be able to date such a wonderful woman at my age. I am thinking of proposing to her next year. Until I met her, I'd given up on marriage and having children. But now I might be able to have both a great wife and a cute daughter. How fortunate I am, I thought as I daydreamed about marriage. First of all, I want to spend a wonderful time with Scarlett and deepen our relationship.